What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. For our first question this week, Sooner Thrawn and Caleb Diaz ask what we think of the rumors that Hera will be in Rangers of the New Republic. And while we're on the topic of rumors, there was a new one.
Yeah, like right before we started recording this, we saw some stuff about Obi-Wan maybe being in Andor. I see a lot of people talking about that. So yeah, we'll just talk about rumors right off the bat. I mean, for Hera in Rangers of the New Republic, I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I could definitely see her popping up in the show, and I would love it. I know people have been hoping for years that she might show up in something live action. We got a name drop in Rogue One. She's
in Squadrons.
Yeah, she was in Squadrons.
She's in the Alphabet Squadron books, and she gets a lot to do in Victory's Price.
Yeah. Was she at the Battle of Exegol?
We don't know. The ghost is there.
Mm.
I'm like, at some point, this poor lady's got to retire. And that's something that they talk about in Victory's Price. She wants the war to be over so that she can go be with her son. Like, she feels like she needs to see the war through. And then the Battle of Jakku is happening, and like she can finally rest.
Mm.
So in one sense, I'd be a little bit like, oh, Hera. Like,
I mean, Lando was there.
Yeah, I know, but I want her to just find her happy ever after. Like, just settle down, spend some time with Jason.
Yeah.
So if she's in Rangers of the New Republic, it's like she's still fighting the good fight, which good for you, but also I just want her to get some happiness and some R&R.
Yeah.
As for Obi-Wan in Andor, that I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a way that they could make it work. I saw someone say it could be a cameo where like Bail, because he'll be in Andor, like he could contact Obi-Wan via hologram. Like, yeah, I can see it happening. Does it have to happen? Or is that kind of just like a corporate synergy? Remember, while Andor's out, we got Kenobi coming. Like,
which one's coming out first?
I don't think it's got to be Andor because it's filming now. So I think Obi-Wan will be after that.
Okay. That one I think is much more slim. Seeing Obi-Wan and Andor, just because I feel like they're saving that for like his own show, like the big, like we're finally getting the Obi-Wan show.
It reminds me of when Rogue One was coming out and we knew Solo was on the way and people were like, there's rumors that Alden Ehrenreich is going to make a cameo in Rogue One, and that never happened. So I'm like, and it was the same kind of thing where I was like, yeah, I can see it happening, but does it need to? I don't know, like...
It could. I mean, they put Ahsoka in The Mandalorian. She's getting her own show, so they could just be wanting to do that with all the characters that are getting their own shows, like plopping them here and there to be like, look who's gonna be here soon.
Yeah, like that to me, as long as there's a good story reason for it, I'm down. But I just don't want it to feel like and here's our obligatory Obi-Wan appearance just to remind everyone that we have this other miniseries coming out. Stay subscribed to Disney Plus. Like,
right. Ice Phoenix 2 wants to know if there will be a time jump between the phases of the High Republic to see Padawans become masters and follow more generations of Jedi.
I kind of hope so.
Yeah?
I hadn't really thought about it, but I like that idea.
I guess I do too. I don't... Like, how big of a time jump?
I mean, 10 years? I don't know. I like the idea that maybe we finish phase 1 and it's like, okay, we've wrapped up this threat. Maybe the Dringir are like only a threat in phase 1. The Nile are more consistent or something like that. But like, I think it makes sense that if they're telling the story of the Jedi and how they change over the course of 200 years, at first I thought it would be like, okay, we're just going to see the catalyst for the start of the change, but they could go the full 200 years and show us like really how the Jedi changed.
I guess, yeah, when you put it that way, I would like to see a time jump because I want this to span over a pretty large chunk of time.
And we've got characters like Keeve Trennis, who we know eventually becomes a Jedi Master, but right now she just got promoted to Jedi Knight. So we might not ever see her get to the point of Jedi Master, but I think that we will. I think that we keep talking about the Lost 20, and I'm like, I think they're going to show us that stuff in the High Republic. And so if they're going to do that, I think we do need to have some pretty big jumps here or there.
Mr. J.D. Rice asks if Lucasfilm will ever use real locations to film again, or has the volume changed that forever?
That's a good question. I mean,
They filmed that one scene in Mandalorian, like off the side of a highway, what it looked
Right.
like.
right. I mean, yes, they're still going to be using real locations, but I wonder how often we're going to see the volume be used in. I mean, we know that Thor 4 is going to use it, and they're starting to use it for major motion pictures and not just TV series. So I wonder how long it's going to be until they're making bigger volumes, and when is it going to get big enough that it is like we don't have to go to locations anymore.
I think for big theatrically released movies, they'll still do some on location stuff.
I think we will get to a point eventually where it's like this is the first film that was shot entirely in the volume. But I would like them to say that after it comes out, because I would love to be completely tricked by it.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I mean, I was tricked by a lot of stuff in season 1 of The Mandalorian, and it didn't even look as good as it did in season 2. So
Yeah.
it's only going to get better.
As long as it looks good, they're saving a ton of money.
Especially the way things are now, it's a safer environment.
Yeah, it's probably better for the environment that in some cases, or like the towns, if they have to go film something in like a random town, how that can disrupt just like people's lives, and I don't know, stuff like that. I can see the pros of not having to film on location anymore, but it's still just
Something about the idea makes me a little sad, though.
yeah. Like the one thing that I could tell every time in The Mandalorian was like the sun and the glare and the shadows in a lot of shots. You could just, I mean, they did a really, really good job. You really had to look closely, but you could tell that it wasn't a real sun.
And there's always going to be something about like helping the actor get into the right headspace, where it's like if you're shooting on Tatooine and you're doing it in the volume, yes, that's better than a green screen. That's a lot more to work off of, but is it as good as going to Tunisia and like feeling the desert heat and everything? Like there's always something to be said about that, but it'll be interesting to see how this continues to evolve.
Lancelot wants to know if we'll ever get movies like Solo or Rogue One, but in the prequel or sequel era.
I think so, and I think from what we've heard about Rogue Squadron, that's probably going to be in the sequel era or a post-sequel, so I would still call it the sequel era. Now, it might not be a one-off. It could be the start of its own trilogy or something. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before we see the Dexter Jetster movie or, something from the prequel era.
I was trying to just think of something from the prequels that they could do a spin-off type movie for. Dexter Jetster would be a good one.
Like young Dooku, or we got that with Dooku Jedi Lost, young Qui-Gon, something. Like,
yeah. Give Grievous his own movie.
There you go. That's a good one.
Tyler Shepard asks if Boba Fett still holds a grudge against Han Solo during the time of The Mandalorian.
I kind of hope not. I feel like he's a bit of a changed man. We will see when the book of Boba Fett comes out, but I feel like he was changed by his experiences in the Sarlacc pit. I also don't even know if he knows that Han knocked him into the pit.
Yeah, it happens so quickly, and Han is just kind of bumbling around because he's half blind. But I mean, Han seems to know who Boba Fett is.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm sure he knows, but
well, he was Boba Fett. Where? Like, he didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly,
He definitely holds a grudge in Legends. So that's where that's coming from.
Yeah. It would be an interesting little addition, I guess, to his character. But hopefully that's not something they dwell on too much.
I don't think he should, and I don't think it should be a focus because, like, yeah, you could get Alden Ehrenreich to be in the Book of Boba Fett, but I'm like, I don't really want that to happen. I want Boba Fett to be doing his own thing. I like that he says something like, sometimes fate saves the wretched. Some that's like all we have so far about how he survived the Sarlacc pit, and I like that he calls himself wretched, kind of like I was a bad guy and now I'm trying to be better. But
yeah, he's done a lot of bad things, and we don't know what we're gonna see him do in Book of Boba Fett. But
and I hope it gives us some of those answers. I hope there are flashbacks to like what happened to you those 5 years. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained content like audio commentaries for the films, and we're doing commentaries for the Clone Wars right now, and this week's episode is Brothers. We're getting into the Darth Maul stuff finally, and that's available right now if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Matthew Kelly asks who the red lightsaber wielding fighter seen in the hologram of Star Wars Hunters could be.
I have no idea.
I vaguely remember this. I didn't take a good look at it. I just assumed maybe it's some Sith.
That's like, I like the idea that they throw out that it could be an old Inquisitor or something. I don't know. Like, I think that, and we don't really know what this game is yet. I think they were probably just like, we want to have a bad guy lightsaber wielder, and so maybe they'll go into backstory for that person. They probably will.
Was it a female? Was it a Twilight?
I don't remember.
I can't remember either.
I like the Inquisitor idea.
Is it supposed to be canon?
I would assume so. I mean, I don't think that's their top priority.
Sure.
But
I was thinking, like, if it's not supposed to be canon, it could literally be whatever, whoever.
Right. It could be something like Galaxy of Heroes, where, like, they just throw a bunch of different Star Wars characters in. For some reason, I get the sense that they're trying to keep it within universe. It has, like, a story, and it's set in a specific time, which there shouldn't really be any Sith or anything like that running around. So I like the Inquisitor idea, like one Inquisitor that survived, or it could be just some dude who can use the Force and he got a lightsaber. Like, it could be some sort of assassin that found a red lightsaber and now he's using it to fight in this arena or whatever is going on.
Yeah, I mean, especially for things like video games, I wouldn't worry or question too many things about
a video game like this.
Yeah,
anyway,
the people in it. It's a fighter with a red lightsaber.
It's a mobile game basically that's also going to be on Switch, and just based on the way they've treated previous mobile games, it's very kind of up in the air, and it's just, we're doing stuff to make this a fun game and not so much focus on the lore.
Yeah, like, not every single character that pops up in something Star Wars related needs a reason why they're there and a backstory.
I bet they'll give him one, or her. So I know very little about this game. I think there will probably be a little bio, but I don't. It's more just for people asking this question, yeah. And not to be like, we're gonna make this new character, this new like dark side user at this specific point in time. It's like, nah, we just wanted a red lightsaber character for the game.
Speaking of Inquisitors, Nils Frauenberger wants to know where all of the Inquisitors came from.
This is one that we actually have an answer for. So for the most part, they were Jedi. They were fallen Jedi, or they were taken and turned. That's what Trilla's story in Fallen Order was. Taken, tortured, turned to the dark side.
And where would we see this story being told?
That one's in Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Were they in the comics too?
Yeah. So the Ninth Sister kind of talks about going through a similar experience in Fallen Order. Some of them were like the Grand Inquisitor. He was part of the Jedi Temple Guard. I think he was turned well beforehand. I don't think he had to be captured and tortured. It sounded like he wanted information and he was denied it by the Jedi. And Palpatine whispered in his ear and was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. It's pretty cool. It's called Order 66.
No big deal.
Once you in on it. So there's people like that. Proset Dibbs was another Jedi that fell away in the Mace Windu comic. We met him, and then we later see him as an Inquisitor. So it's probably a mixture of Jedi who were just not vibing with what the Jedi Order was doing at the time. So that led them down the dark path. And then we have a few that were like specifically captured and tortured until they returned.
It's not my vibe. My vibe is more killing younglings. Is that about right for the Inquisitors?
I wonder if they would have gone that far. Or if Anakin did all of that. I
think we're to assume Anakin did all of it. But
right. Like, I wonder if Palpatine had told the Grand Inquisitor to kill children if he would have done it. Probably. He didn't seem to have any qualms about potentially killing Ezra. So
Jesper Levels asks if a Padawan had to cut off their braid if they ever had to go undercover.
I think that'd be an interesting thing to explore. Like, I assume that, it means something to them and they wouldn't want to lose it. But I was looking at the Zygeria arc because Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan all go undercover. And it does look like Ahsoka took off her beads, which is a lot easier than, cutting off your braid. But
yeah,
because you can just clip it back on later.
I mean, maybe they just put it up in a baseball cap.
Right. I mean,
or put on a beanie.
We also don't know what Star Wars technology is like. Maybe they have like some hair growth stuff that you can put on. Because Obi-Wan shaves his head and his beard to go undercover. And like an episode later, full beard, full head of hair. Yeah. Obviously, there can be a time jump, but...
I mean, there is such a thing as weave. So if they did have to cut off their braid, they could start growing a new one and eventually... weave the two together.
Sure.
I mean, the hair technology is there, guys. Elijah Dunbar wants to know if we'll see the Zygerian Empire in the High Republic.
I'm going to guess no, because there is a Padawan in the High Republic Adventures that is a Zygerian.
Okay.
So
go on.
So I think that means by now the Zygerian slaving empire has been taken care of at this point in the timeline. I think the galaxy is at peace. So if there's a Zygerian in the Jedi Order, just like there's a Trandoshan in the Jedi Order, it feels like things are a little more harmonious. And I'm going to assume that the Zygerians, their empire was knocked down before the High Republic era.
Because, they were the slavers, right?
Right.
So yeah, we don't need to revisit an empire of slavers.
I mean, that arc is very dark and upsetting, but yeah, it would be interesting to see, how the High Republic Jedi handle slavery, because that's one of the big downfalls of the prequel era Jedi of like, yeah, slavery exists, and they're like, well, what are you gonna do?
Well, like, Padme has that line of not realizing that there was still slavery in the galaxy, so it seems like most of it's been taken care of, but stuff
in the Outer Rim.
Yeah, stuff in the Outer Rim, it's like, well, that's not really our jurisdiction.
Right, exactly. That's the excuse, but it's like, should you make it your jurisdiction?
Yeah. Martin Stallard asks if Sifo Dyas's vision of the Clone Wars was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I think you could make the argument that it was, but I would say no. So, like, Anakin seeing a vision of Padme dying, and then he being, like, the one to cause it, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Of, like, you did everything you could to stop it, and you wound up causing it by doing that. The Jedi kind of go the other way, where Sifo Dyas is like, hey, I had this vision of the future, and there's this big war, it's going to cause the end of the Jedi and all this stuff, and they're like, we're not going to do anything about that. So that to me says it's not self-fulfilling, but then where do you draw the line? Like, is doing nothing still making it self-fulfilling? I don't know.
I mean, he has the vision. He's the one to contact the cloners.
That is true.
So I would say yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't, yeah, I hadn't thought about that, where he is the one who instigates the creation of the clone army because he saw this. Okay, well, what do I know?
I win.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.